I was literally just about to hit record, and then I got a notification on my phone saying that I had won something through Melly Knits Tour de Fleece team. So that's exciting. I took a little intermission before I even began to go look at the beautiful bat that is heading my way from, it's called Eleanor Farm from, I think, Washington. So that's cool. Now I'm ready again. Hi, my name's Kirsten. This is the Paper Knits podcast. I didn't look up which episode it was before I sat down. Episode 39. I'm a knitter from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada. And I really love to knit, and I really love getting to talk about my knitting on the internet. I finally have a finished object to share with you today. I guess I've had a couple random finished objects. I have a finished garment item to share today, and I am so thrilled. So let's jump immediately into that. Actually, first let's talk about the weather. It's been very hot here, like 30 degrees, which means it's 30 degrees inside my house. Not loving that. Prior to that, we've had horrible rain, we've had horrible mosquitoes, and now we've had heat. And the mosquitoes are still bad. There's been big thunderstorms. There was a tornado that touched down where some of our family live. They were all fine. I don't think anybody was injured actually, but there was like property damage and stuff. And it feels like heavy. Like the heat feels heavy, and then the like weight of global warming feels heavy, you know? It's like climate disaster. Anyways, I am feeling like I'm ready for fall already. I don't like the summer that much. I don't love the heat. And we get like 6 weeks maybe of like nice fall weather, and then it starts to snow. But if I could just live in that 6 weeks of fall, that would be nice, I think. So I did finish a summer knit item. I have thoughts. So let me tell you about it. This is my Pop Rock Pullover by Tesselated. I've been working on this since April. This is a group knit project that I'm doing with my knitting group, that we are going to wear our finished objects at Knit City Calgary in September. So I'm glad I got it done. I got it done in plenty of time, and I'm glad that it's just been kind of like lingering, like, oh yeah, I really have to finish that. I have another project I have to cast on for that too, but like that we're also going to work together, but it's a cowl, but like I need to get on that too. But I'm just glad to have this one done. I was getting really bored of knitting round and round, holding 2 yarns together and also doing stripes. So I had like there was just a lot of yarn management happening, but it is finished now. I knit mine in Sanus Garn Tin Lena, but held double. I had swatched for this initially with it held single, but I didn't like the fabric. It was like my gauge was off. Like my gauge was too tight, but also like the fabric felt really gapey. And so I decided to hold it double, and I'm much happier with that. It's very opaque now. And so I appreciate that. I don't have to wear something underneath of it. And it does mean though that it feels a little bit heavy. And this is literally the first time I've worn it. I tried it on a couple times along the way, but like it just finished drying yesterday. Oh yeah, we've also had smoke. So the wildfire smoke has been a lot. I had it sitting outside all day yesterday to dry in the heat. But that meant when I brought it inside, it smelled like wildfire smoke, which was kind of depressing. This is my first time wearing it now. And so I did make a handful of modifications to this pattern. So let's discuss those. I'm happy with how it turned out, but I did like make quite a few changes. So the pattern gauge is 24 stitches and 32 rows in stockinette stitch in fingering weight yarn. One of the samples is knit in like a fingering with the stripe, the other stripe being like a mohair. So I knew I didn't want to do that because I didn't want to wear a mohair t-shirt. Like that felt like that would be too warm, you know? And I liked the idea about using the plant-based fiber. And so I had the kind of cream colored one, beigeish one in my stash already that I got from somebody else, like as a de-stash. And so I only had a certain number of balls of it, and I'm sure I could have got more, but like dye lots and stuff, you know. And then the green I bought at a yarn store here in Edmonton called Little Blue, and then went back and bought another one because when I decided I was going to hold it double, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough. I have this much left of the white and this much left of the green. And in theory, I would have picked up and done a neckband. The whole time I was planning to do a ribbed neckline. In the pattern, it's an I-cord that you pick up and knit on. But I wouldn't have had enough yarn to do that. I would have enough in the whitish, beigeish, what else did I call it already? Cream. But I didn't want that. I wanted the green. So, but I'm using what I have. I guess I could go buy another ball of this. That'd be annoying. I also added ribbing to the bottom hem. That's also supposed to be an I-cord bind off, but I just did some 1x1 rib, and then I bound off using the Zone Italian bind off. I also added sleeves. So the pattern has instructions for either it's just like a little cap sleeve, and then again you pick up and do an I-cord edging, or it has instructions for long sleeves. And so I did the happy medium, I guess, and just picked up for sleeves and did a little short sleeve, same thing with ribbing on the edge and 1x1 ribbing, and then the Zone Italian bind off. And then I was planning to do 1x1 ribbing around the neckline. It is a little bit low without any like neckband to it. Doing like the I-cord wouldn't have made a difference really that much, right? It would have been just like ever so slightly thicker, like whatever. But like I was planning to do, you know, this much ribbing around the outside. So we'll see how that feels as I wear it. Again, I don't want to have to wear something underneath of it, and so I have to have a cami underneath. I don't have to do anything, but if I feel like it's just a little bit more open than what I usually wear, then, you know, just want to be comfortable. So those were the kind of like more apparent modifications that I made, but I also made some modifications for, part of it was because my row gauge was more dense than what was in the pattern. Technically I did have stitch gauge. Actually, I measured it before I blocked it, but I haven't measured it again since. I was like at 23 and a half, like 23 and a little bit stitches before I blocked it. And I'm happy with the fit and stuff that I got. I knit a size 5, I believe. Oh, 6. 48 inches. So that gives me 4 inches of positive ease. That's probably about where I'm at. But yeah, my row gauge was a little bit denser. And so I was just being careful about my, you know, you like knit the back panel and then you pick up for the front panels and then you join at the underarm. And yeah, there was a lot of discussion in our knit along group about that armhole depth. There's zero way this would have fit me if I had knit it to pattern. Even as it is, it's fine. It fits me, but like it just fits me around like my comfortable level of like armhole depth here. And I added multiple inches to what was written in the pattern. I also changed where the V-neck, well, okay, I think actually I joined at the V-neck where I should have split for sleeves. And so I had already knit longer in the back. I would have knit the fronts to match that. And that's where I joined in the round for my front and backs. But I had already joined the V. And in the pattern, you join for the V at the same place that you joined for the underarms. And like that would have been quite low on me. And so I'm glad I did that because like, yeah, that would have been unwearable. And so like, it's not just because my row gauge was too tight, because I was knitting it to like how many inches it said in the pattern. And then I was like, that's not enough. I need to knit more inches. And so it wasn't like knit 50 rows. It was like knit to however many inches. And so, yeah, that was a common thing that came up in our knitting group. If you're knitting this sweater, beware of the armhole depth, I guess. And so I had also changed my increase rate a little bit along this front just to account for my difference in row gauge. And one thing that worked out nicely in my favor is that my edging along the V-neck is quite tidy. And so because I'm not picking up and doing any sort of edging, like I think it's okay. It rolls ever so slightly inwards and the tension and stuff was okay. I talked about this last time, but I'm quite happy with how my little short row thing affected the V-neck here. I think it looks very, very even. Like you can see it goes up just a little bit right here. And again, if I had picked up like I was planning to for the neckline, maybe I still will. I don't know. Maybe that would have distorted this a little bit and like pulled it up. But for right now, I'm like quite happy with how that's sitting. Like that's exactly what I wanted. So this was a good experiment for that. I saw 2 separate things this week talking about picking up stitches for like a button band or along the armhole or whatever. And usually, you know, we pick up in like pick up every 3 out of 4 rows or something, right? To like get the stitch count right and like match the gauges. But this was saying pick up every single row in a 1-to-1 ratio, and then on your next round, decrease to the ratio that you need. And so then you don't end up with any like, you know, you pick up 3 and you skip 1, then there's like a little gap right there. So you just like pick up 4, and then on your next round, you would like decrease those ones together. So I tried that out for the armhole. And so I just like picked up every single stitch around for the armhole. And then in my next round, then I did, I wanted 3 out of 4. And so I knit 2 together, knit 2 together to get the like 4 stitches into 3 stitches. Yeah. So I'm happy with that, how that turned out. Okay. So as I said, I was getting bored of knitting the body of this. I was carrying my yarn the whole time. I was pulling from the outside and the inside of one of these little, like, I don't know what we call these kind of little skeins. And that was like probably not a good idea, but it's just what I started doing. And so it's what I kept doing. Got a little bit tangly. And then having the like the 2 balls always attached and like 4 strands coming, you know, being attached to my sweater at all times. I did a jogless stripe. That was my beginning of round there. So I think it turned out okay. I think that I don't like knitting with non-wool yarn. It's hard to weave in the ends nicely. Sometimes, normally if I'm joining in a new color or a new ball of yarn or something, then I carry, it's kind of like when you're catching floats in color work. And so I like catch the new yarn and then switch to the new yarn and then like kind of like weave out the old yarn. But there's one spot in particular where it looks like my tension is just really off. I don't know where it is now. It just doesn't look very good. Because I was knitting with the 2 yarns held together, like even after I wove in all of my ends, then I like separated those 2, pulled one of those ends through a different stitch so that they were on, you know, over top of a different stitch. And then I tied knots on all those little ends because I just like wasn't convinced that they were going to stay put. I think I just don't like knitting with non-wool yarns very much. So I have wanted more summer knitted items because I miss wearing my knits in the summer. I have a couple of them, but I think I just like, I don't know. I just think it's not for me. I was just watching Rebecca Clo's podcast this morning. So she just released a new tank top and it's like really cute. I like how the straps look. It looked like they would actually cover up a bra. It's like cute with the stripes and like the details on the sides and stuff. I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's cool. And one of her samples was knit in Drops Bell, which is like basically the same content as the Santa's Garden Tinlina. And I had to remind myself, I'm like, I don't like knitting with that yarn. I don't like the process of knitting with it. And so like, even if I like the finished garment and like being able to wear the knit in the summer, in the hotter weather, it's like, I don't know if it's worth it for me if I don't enjoy the process. So I think what I need to do is I need to get back to sewing. I went through my fabric stash the other day, just like reorganizing some things. And I have a lot of fabric that I have bought for specific projects that I just have never used. And some of those things were like t-shirts. It's like I could sew up a t-shirt in a day and have a new t-shirt to wear. When actually all of my laundry is done and it's all like put away in my closet and stuff, and I can see what I actually have, I have this many long sleeve shirts and sweaters in my closet, and I have this many t-shirts in my closet. It's like, I need more t-shirts, like melting in the heat. I'm like, I need comfortable summer clothes to wear. And I don't have a lot of those. Obviously I could go buy t-shirts, but it's like, I feel like I had planned to sew some and I just like never did it. So anyways, this one's done. I will wear it. I will see how it feels. I will see how the neckline feels. I like my color choices. I like that I used up most of this stash. No idea what I will do with, I don't know how much is left of each of these. 88 meters of this and 44 meters of this. What will that turn into? I don't know. But yes, it used total 1,628 meters. So 800 meters if I had been just using it not held double, right? It's done. I don't have to do stripes anymore right now. I normally like doing stripes, but I started these. and I'm not like jumping for joy about it, you know? I think I need a little bit of distance from it, which is fine. That often happens when I finish a project and I'm like, okay, I don't want to see you ever again. And then like I give it a week and I'm like, oh yay, my new knit. So anyways, this one's done. I will wear it. I will happily wear it with our group at Knit City Calgary. And it's been fun seeing everybody's different versions that they're making, us problem solving things together. But I'm glad to have it off my needles. I started this at the end of April. And so like April, May, June, July, 3 solid months for a t-shirt. That feels like, I don't know. It felt like a lot. So anywho, enough of that. Moving on. Only other FO, I think, is I finished the ugly socks for my kid. They're fine. They're not that bad. I really don't like them. I don't know why. They just like make me angry. However, somehow I made this one like quite a bit shorter. And I think I maybe, like I was trying to match up like the stripes. And so it's like, oh yeah, they both end after that kind of like teal green stripe, but like at the wrong place. And so this one's too long. And so when I presented them to my son, I was like, look, I finished your socks. And I was like, sorry, this one's a little bit longer. He was like, what? Like, did not appreciate that. And so I may or may not just put them into his drawer and like see if he remembers. Or I will just like rip back the cuff and rip back 2 stripes and then re-knit the cuff. But I don't really want to do that. So, but that, I have like 2 grams of this self-striping yarn left. And so that was nice to get that used up. He and I have matching socks now, minus the very bright yellow. And another thing that was done. Did I show this toque last time? I don't think I did. I have another finished object. I'll go get it. Okay. Ran up and down my stairs. I also made a toque for my son. I have a couple of ends to weave in. Okay. So there was one day I was knitting and I was looking up at my shelf and I was feeling annoyed about this bin of yarn that I knew was up there that had a whole bunch of miscellaneous yarn in it that had no purpose. Some of it's leftovers, some of it's like full skeins that I've just like never used. And I went through the whole thing, made some plans for some of the yarn that was in there. So one of those things was like easy peasy was a toque. And I knew that if I presented this yarn in such a way to my son that he would be like, ooh, that's pretty, I want that. And so I managed to do that. Just like, oh, look at this cool yarn. And then I wonder if that would make a good toque. And then he wanted a toque. So it's bulky yarn. It's by a local dyer who's not dying anymore called Neat Nick. I don't know if they're coming. They might just like be on a hiatus, an extended hiatus. I'm not sure. But I might have got this at like in like a prize basket or something. And this was a good use for it. It was just a simple toque. I had my end sticking down for the, like my cast on, and he tried it on to like see if it would fit him and stuff. I think I had to rip back at one point and make it longer. I can't remember now. And yeah, so the end, it was kind of like this, was sticking out. He put the toque on and then was like waving it around, and it was, you know, he's like, oh, is that so that I can like go like this? And then the thing was like waving around, and I was like, no, like that, I'm gonna weave that in so that it's not dangling there. But he liked that it was dangling there. And so then he said, what if we added pom-poms? Like, okay, great. What if we added pom-poms? So now he has, it's like, you know, like an ear flap toque would have like little pom-poms on the end of it, but without the ear flaps. So I did finish that, I think in probably like a day and a half. I do have some leftovers. Maybe I will just make a really big pom-pom for the top though. Unsure. But that just felt like a good, like easy win, you know, to like get that done with. I don't like making pom-poms, so that part took me a little bit longer. The other random yarn that was in there was some Shepya's Whirlette, which is cotton acrylic, which I believe I had bought the first go around, the first time I had my knitting machine, because I was going to make washcloths, I think, with it on my knitting machine. It's a little bit too thick of yarn for my knitting machine, and so it never turned into anything, and it's I have a ball of this kind of like bluish purpley color and a ball of white, and they just have never become anything. Now I have a face cloth. So I was testing out, I haven't washed it yet to like see how it feels when it's wet. I like how it feels though, like it's nice. It was quick, and it got a very small amount of yarn out of my stash. So this was kind of like proof of concept. I need to wash it, see how it feels if it's wet. Well, like, would I want to wash my face with this? 40% acrylic, you know, but that was the other random thing I finished. Very exciting. So on to whips then. I've made very good progress on my Tesselated. So let's look at that one. It is everything I wanted it to be. So quite happy with how this one's going. I have made a lot of progress on this. Obviously last time I had finished the front panel. I was working on the back panel. I have now attached the front and backs at the shoulders, knit the neckband, and started a sleeve. After I attached the shoulders, I tried it on and I was like, it was not looking good, you know? Very wide neckline. The shoulders were like sticking straight out of my body, looked very deep and baggy. And I was like, okay, I knew that once I added the neckband, it would look better, but like it was very much trust the process. Once I added the neckband, I was sharing this on Instagram and then I put it up on Instagram. Then I had a couple of people message me being like, yeah, I was a little bit worried when you showed what it looked like yesterday, but it all came together in the end. So I'm very happy with how it's looking. I had a heck of a time joining the shoulder seams though. Oh yeah, and the side seams. The side seams were harder. I joined because I knit this flat, right? Instead of in the round like the pattern says. I still stand by it, but also I'm kind of questioning my choices. I joined the shoulders in 3 needle bind off like it says, and then decided to do the same thing for the body. And I think initially I joined the shoulders. I joined like the fronts together like this instead of like the front to the back. I just took the 2 front shoulders and joined them together. So thankfully it was like super easy to rip it out. So it took me a little bit of finagling. I did it again. How did this work? It doesn't matter, but it was annoying. I had to redo the shoulders. Like I did two shoulder seams 3 times, like 1, 2, 3. And then I did the side seams maybe 4 times total. Like it was annoying. And I think it was when I was joining the side seams, I actually joined the 2 front pieces together. That's what it was. And I was like done. I did the entire 3 needle bind off and realized that I had just joined the front piece together in a little tiny tube instead of like joining the front and the back. So that was annoying because I changed it to be knit flat and I didn't think through correctly. I did put some thought into it, but I didn't think through correctly how the front and back pattern would meet up. I was gonna end up with 2 contrast colors right next to each other so that it would look like 4 contrast colors. And I had my selvage for my seaming in the main color, dark purple, but then I had 2 spin cycles stitches right next to each other, so I would have had 4 across, which like it would have been fine, whatever. But then I was like, I know, I will add the 3 needle bind off on the edge instead of doing mattress stitch like I was planning to. And so then that just like adds that purple separation between the contrasting spin cycle colors. So I was quite happy with that. However, lining up, when I was picking up my stitches, I had picked up stitches, like picked up a knit going from bottom to top. And then on the other piece, I did from like armhole down to the bottom. And that meant that the place that I was picking them up was in slightly different places. And so when I was doing the 3 needle bind off, then they were kind of offset like this. And I was like, well, I can't do that. And so that took some experimenting and redoing to get it lined up properly. But I succeeded and I love how it looks now, so it's just fine. I've also discovered when you do a 3 needle bind off, the side that's facing you looks like a knit stitch, and then from the back it looks like a purl stitch. But it makes a little bit of a ridge, and somewhere along the way I was looking up tips, I think, about how to do the 3 needle bind off tidier. And one of the ways that you can do it is that instead of knitting into both stitches, you insert knitwise into the stitch on your front needle and you insert purlwise on the stitch on your back needle, and then you pull your yarn through both of those stitches. And that makes it look like a knit stitch on both front and back then. Like, you can't tell that that's what it is. The result is that the seam is much flatter and tidier looking. I hadn't done that on the shoulders. I had done that on the side seam. And then when I went back to look at my shoulders, I was like, well, they don't look as nice. I want to change that. So I ripped those out and then redid them. So maybe I did the shoulder seams 5 times total. It just looks flatter. It looks neater. It looks better from both sides. The side seam is very flat. I think it's worked out really well. Picking up for the neckband definitely like brought that together nicely. And I was delaying knitting the sleeve because I just like had to wrap my head around how I was going to pick up the stitches and which colors I was going to use on the sleeves and that kind of thing. But once I just like made my choice, then it was fine. I am at a little bit of a dilemma right now. I did split my purple up so that I could start with purple on both sides, but now all I have left is like quite green, and I can't transition from purple into green in any way. So on the body, there was a couple spots on this skein like here where it's like it kind of moves into something lighter. So then I could move that into like the lighter green. It started with kind of this more like a reddish purple, I guess, as opposed to like a blue purple. And then I felt like I was able to transition that nicely. I don't think I can transition on the sleeve. And so I'm just going to have this like line then that changes to green all of a sudden. And I don't know how I feel about that. I had been trying to like transition the body quite carefully, and like they don't match front and back, but I think they like flow in and of itself. So that stalled me out a little bit these last couple of days, but it's going okay. The yarn management is still annoying, but it's fine. And I've like kind of figured out a flow to that. And yep, adding some decreases along the way. It's coming. I'm happy with it. I did look at some of my other skeins. I have 3 other skeins of Spin Cycle to see if I could steal a little bit of it to like kind of fade the arm into green, but I don't think they're quite right. So I'm just gonna keep thinking about it for a while and then probably just like go right from purple to green. It's fine. Can you see my whips hanging on my shelf there? I 3D printed some little hooks to sit on the little overhang here, and then I can put my project bags on them instead of, if they are in my drawers, I forget that they exist. And if they're on my floor, then they feel overwhelming. And so I've been quite happy with this. These are not sturdy, and if you like look at them wrong, they fall off. But if the weight of the bag is holding them in place, then they're fine. I might attach them like with them like double-sided tape or something. But I didn't want them to be like committed to that location. Whatever. I finished one of my, well, I didn't finish. I have to do the thumb. I was sad when I realized that I had to do the thumb, but I finished kind of the hand of the mitten. These millet mittens, I don't know how to pronounce. However, they're just like a little bit too short. And so I think I need to rip out all these decreases at the top and make them just like a little bit longer. We'll see, but really liking how these are turning out, and they will be very cozy and warm come wintertime. So probably this will get like put on the back burner now. Like maybe I should cast on the other one because I could just keep working on the hand of the other one and then maybe decide how long I wanted it to be and then go back and make the change on this one, you know. But I needed the needle that was on here to swatch for a different project. So I finished this, took my needle, used it for swatching something else, which I will show you now. As soon as I saw Amy Scher's new pattern, it's called the Seashore Jacket, I was like, yes, that is exactly what I've been looking for. I have a sweater's quantity of Bramble Ridge wool linen. It's 70% wool, 30% linen, that I also got on a destash from the same person who was destashing this. And I've had this picture in my mind. I have a cardigan that I have from a store that is like my lightweight cardigan that I throw over things. And it's lace, and I wanted to knit one that was kind of like that similar. Oh, there's a lot of long pieces of linen in here. I wanted to knit one that not look the same, because I wasn't copying the lace pattern, but I like wanted it to fill that same function, I guess, in my wardrobe that fit me a little bit better. And so then when I got this yarn, I was like, oh, I think that this is what I want. And what the plan formed in my mind is I wanted a pointel cardigan. And there have been a handful of pointel patterns that have come out recently. I think there's one called the Marielle blouse, and I think there's also a cardigan. I will fact check myself on the screen, but it wasn't quite what I was looking for. And then when I saw this seashore jacket, I was like, that is exactly what I have been picturing, except with long sleeves. And so I started swatching for that, and I swatched initially with whatever size needle, and it was too big, and so I needed to go down to needle size, but that needle was in my mittens, so I had to finish that mitten so I could get my needle back, and I've been swatching. So here are my 2 swatches. This was my first one. I don't remember what my gauge is now, but it's too big. The gauge is supposed to be 27 stitches. This was maybe like 24 or 25, and it just like looked a little bit too gapey. So then I went down 2 needle sizes to that one that I was looking for. This one's too small. And obviously I made a tinier swatch. I probably will swatch again with the size in between. This one's 2.25, so I guess 2.5. I don't remember what I swatched with initially. I have to find my notes. I have it written down somewhere, but I don't remember it offhand. But I was also experimenting with different ways to knit the little eyelets. I am not a lace knitter. I have done lace in a couple of projects. It's not something that I feel that comfortable with. It's not something that I can read easily. And I don't think that it looks very tidy. And so I was experimenting with different ways to help my knitting look more tidy. This has the kind of like offset pointel pattern with then, you know, like a smaller ridge of just stockinette in between with purl stitches in between. I did an experiment where I twisted those pearls just to see how that would make that transition from knit to purl look. It didn't make any difference from the front side of the work, and I'm not going to bother doing that. I was looking up different things about how to make each yarn over match. And so you can do a yarn over the normal way, and then on the next one you can do a backwards yarn over. You can knit the next, so like then when you come back on the wrong side row and knit into that yarn over, the next row, then you can twist that stitch, and it's supposed to like help keep that yarn over open. Tried that, it didn't look good. This is my best one. And so like all 4 of the little eyelets look pretty even. That was the one that I messed up, and then I had to go back and drop down stitches and fix it. And so it doesn't count because I was able to intricately adjust the tension of every single one of those stitches when I was fixing them and like laddering back up again. I don't like how the center of this center stitch leans. Anyways. And my left little yarn over really closes up. So probably that is why I will re-swatch again, because I want it to look good. And I was like zooming in on all the people's pictures, and like other people don't seem to have the same problem as me. My best one on this swatch, I did a double yarn over on here and then dropped the second yarn over when I was coming back to purl into the yarn over. So I'm going to keep experimenting with that. I really want this sweater. I really want it in this yarn. I really want my lace to look nice. So who knows when or if this will get knit, but it was feeling inspiring to me and that was important, and so I ran with it. Anyways, this is nice. I also haven't blocked this yet, and so I should do that just to see how the fabric changes. It's 70% wool, 30% linen, and so it has a little bit of stretch to it still from the wool, but like it's definitely more stiff from the linen. I should weave in some of these ends and see how well they hide after just like going on a rant about working with this plant-based yarn for my pop rocks. But anyways, that was some spontaneous swatching this week. So the other thing is a project that I have been working on for a long time that I have never showed you because I wanted it to be done and for me to just gift it to the recipient without him seeing it on my podcast, because it's for my dad. And my mom and my dad are very faithful watchers of my podcast. Everyone say hi, Kirsten's mom and dad. I really appreciate their support in this thing that I do. My dad retired this year, and we had a retirement party for him in the middle of July. My plan was to have this sweater finished for him to gift it to him at his party. I did not finish it. So I have talked about this plan before, that I have this book called Traditional Dutch Gansies, and I was going to knit him a sweater based off of like a regional pattern from like where his family is from in the Netherlands. And so that's what I've been doing. And I'm using the Durham Natura Gilead. And this is where I'm at. I have the body done. I have split for front and back. And then I brought this to get him to try it on that weekend. So I decided that, like, I asked him 2 years ago, I think, if I'm like, hey, can I knit you a sweater? I have this idea. And I have gone through, this is my second sweater's quantity of yarn that I bought for this project, because the first one I decided wasn't right. And I'm happy I made that change. This will be better. And I just wanted to be able to surprise him with it. But I decided that it's better that it fits him. And now he knows about it more like concretely, because it like, look, it exists now. So I got him to try it on, and he like brought one of his sweaters, and I like laid this one out over top of it just to like double check the body length and stuff like that. I had compared it to a couple sweaters that I'd knit for my husband, that one of them's like too long and one of them's too short. And so I was like trying to make this one like fall in between there somewhere. I don't know how well the pattern is showing up on screen. With the darker yarn, it definitely like hides it more, but I'm really liking it. And I was scared to start it. Like, I absolutely had time to finish this before the middle of July. I cast this on in, I don't know exactly. I have it somewhere. I've been vlogging the process. That footage may or may not ever see the light of day, because sometimes I do that. I film the whole thing and then I never put it up. But like March maybe, and I think I was just worried that I had like done my math wrong and that my gauge was actually wrong, and then when I went to go actually knit it, then it wasn't gonna fit, and because I was trying to surprise him, then I was just like worried that it wasn't gonna fit, or that my plan wasn't gonna work, or whatever. And so I put off knitting it, and I gotten to this little stitch marker here. So done the ribbing, done I guess almost one full repeat of the stitch pattern, and then was like, okay, I think I had like 2 weeks until the party. I was like, I'm gonna see how much I can get done. Brought it to knit night, knit that much, continued to knit up until here over the next like 10 days, and that's all I knit on pretty well, and for like at the start of July. And then probably 2 days before the party, I was like, I'm not gonna get this done. So decided that it was fine. Mustn't have been all I was knitting on, because I was also doing my Tesselated, and like knit a random toque in a day and like whatever. But anyhow, it is coming. I'm happy with how it's going. Maybe this will turn into a Christmas present now. That it's not, it could just be a random like, hey, it's the middle of September, here's a sweater gift. It doesn't have to be on a particular day, but I just really wanted to have it for his retirement party. But anyways, now I will show you, because now he has seen it. And yeah, I don't know how much I will keep talking about it on here, because I am trying to do the like project videos for it. But anyways, that's the other thing that I have been working diligently on. Oh man, this bag has Velcro on the top of it. And it's like, I really like it. It's from Little Blue Yarn Studio, Fiber Studio, which is a shop here in Edmonton. That's their cute little goat on it. But I think I'm gonna pick off the Velcro because that's Velcro and knitting. It doesn't go well together. That's all my knitting. I have a little bit of hand spun to show you. So I have my e-spinner. I also have a treadle wheel, the Ashford Joy, I believe. Single treadle wheel that I got years and years ago that I didn't use to its full purpose in life. And then I bought this e-spinner. Now I've been spinning quite a bit more for me. I've been spinning more for me. And it's Tour de Fleece. And I didn't want to commit to anything because every year, probably since I've gotten my wheel, or at least since I learned about Tour de Fleece, I'm like, great, I'm going to spin every day. I'm going to do the Tour de Fleece challenge. I'm going to do all the things. I'm going to join a team. And then I spin for 2 days and then I stop. And then I feel bad. And so I'm like, I don't need that in my life. I'm just going to like do as I want to. I had this lovely braid of fiber that my sister-in-law had bought for me at her local yarn store. She's not a fiber crafter, but there's a yarn store in her town. And so she had gone in and got me this braid of fiber. And I decided to spin it up. And so I used my other wheel, my older wheel. It's like, great, this is gonna be great. I had been thinking that I was underspinning my singles. And so this time I was like, great, I will add more twist to my singles. And then I plied it on my e-spinner. And then I took it off my bobbin and put it onto my knitting knotty, and I was like, oh dear, something's wrong here. And I'd been like filming this nice little like behind the scenes of me getting this fiber spun up or whatever, and then that turned into a like disaster reel instead on Instagram, which brought me joy because I thought it was funny. But a ton of people saw it, way more than anybody sees my content normally on Instagram. And which was fine. I was literally asking people for help. I had a lot of people weigh in the comments and help me figure out what was wrong with my yarn. But because I had added so much twist into the singles, I didn't add enough ply twist. And so the singles were trying to just like ply back onto themselves instead of plying onto its friend, the other ply. And it was a mess. Yeah, it was so disappointing. I ran it through my wheel again. I went back to my treadle wheel so that I could like stop and start more easily. And the parts that were really loosely plied, I just like added a lot more twist. Some places, there were sections of the whole skein that were fine. And so I just like fed them onto my wheel quickly. And other spots where it's like, I don't know if I just wasn't paying attention when I was plying it the first time around. I don't know what I was thinking. Seeing the before and afters, it's like, what was I thinking? Obviously that's not right. But, I don't know. I'm just learning, okay? But look at it now. It looks nice. I think I overcompensated a little bit and now I added a little bit too much ply twist. This is BFL, I believe. And I really like the colors. Who knows what it'll turn into. I'm glad I saved it. Really appreciated people weighing in to tell me what the heck I was doing. Don't love that thousands of people saw me not doing something well. When like I'm very confident in my knitting. Please look at my knitting on Instagram. I think I make funny reels. Nobody sees them. So it's fine. Just the cringe things about making content. And I have to remind myself, like, I enjoy making it. That's why I'm doing it. I am not getting a lot of external validation about it. But I still have the internal validation about it because I like doing it and I think that I'm funny. So if I think I'm funny, then at least I can laugh at myself when I'm being silly on the internet. But a whole bunch of people saw me make bad yarn instead of like, look at my beautiful sweater that I made. I am working on another spin. Back on the e-spinner again. This is some 2x Infinity 62.5% Blue Face Luster, 37.5% Merino in the colorway Blue Tweed, 50 grams. I had 3 of these little bundles that I had bought at separate times. I think I bought 2 of them one time and then one another time, and I didn't realize that I had already bought them. I bought them at different fiber festivals. And when I got home, I was like, oh, I literally already own this, but I have 3 of them. And so I'm going to make a 3-ply, which I have never done before. I've tried chain plying, and so then that turns into a 3-ply, but I want to ply 3 strands together from 3 separate bobbins and experiment with that. I started this at knit night this week, had a heck of a time getting it started, which was annoying. This is all of my, like, I just couldn't get it to, like, get enough twist. I couldn't get it to take up properly. Learning new things is hard. I don't like it. Like, I do like it because it's like, it's something that I want to do and I enjoy doing it. No one is forcing me to spin yarn, but it's hard learning new things, you know, and it's hard being bad at something. So it's good. It's been good practice for me, and then because, like, it's been super cool seeing all of the Tour de Fleece posts. I've been really enjoying seeing so much hand spun, and like I followed quite a few accounts already, but just like Melly Knits, for example, it's just like sharing a lot of people then who are doing her like stash dashers, and so then I'm just like seeing all of this other yarn and seeing people talk about their projects more, like, you know, kind of the technical details that go into their spin, and like that's been really interesting to me. But when I spend a lot of time making something and then it doesn't turn out, like I fixed this is usable now. I think it was a good little science experiment for me about what the heck went wrong. It's just, I'm just still learning, you know, and that's fine. Okay, couple random acquisitions. I bought this Stampede Midway Socknado, Super Socknado. It's a big chunky skein from Ancient Arts. And this is, I think it's 150 grams. Yeah, it is. And this is going to become a special pair of socks, 2 special pairs of socks. And then I also bought another skein of this Heritage base, the fingering base. I had bought a sweater's quantity of this last Knit City Calgary. That was like one of my few plans I had going into Knit City Calgary, was like I wanted this base. I think maybe they had just released it that year. And it's Canadian. Well, it's Albertan. It's from an Albertan farm, spun in an Albertan mill, dyed by an Albertan dyer. This is a natural color. It's not dyed, but I also have a navy color. And I've been planning projects for that. I have a very specific idea in my mind of what I want that sweater to be. And I might have found a pattern for it, but I didn't have enough of the contrast color. I had just had 1 skein. And so I haven't pulled it out of its bag yet. Like I held it up next to the bag, but they're from a different batch. I'm sure they will be different colors, but I'm just going to manage that the best that I can. So I had wanted to make that sweater before this upcoming Knit City Calgary. Not so I could wear it there, but just so I could be like, look, I knit with the yarn that I bought the last time. That's not going to happen, but at least I'm not having to worry about my yardage anymore. So there was 2 skeins of this batch left, and I only bought 1 skein. I should have just bought both of them. I don't need them for that sweater, but like, I should have just bought both of them. Whatever. I think that that's everything now, and my battery is about to run out. So find me on Instagram. You can also cringe at me and laugh at me at my Instagram reels. Like and subscribe to my YouTube channel here if you want to see me be cringe and laugh at myself, also on YouTube. And that's it for today. Happy knitting. Bye.